Live in Copenhagen, Princess Leonor and Prince Nicolas leave Spain speechless. Everyone thought this would be routine. A quiet royal visit. A polite appearance. Another carefully managed European royal moment. Princess Leonor stepping onto Danish soil was expected to be symbolic, respectful, controlled. That was the assumption across Spain. But the moment the cameras went live in Copenhagen, something changed. Because what Spain witnessed was not protocol. It was not distance. It was not a future queen standing alone. It was Princess Leonor beside Prince Nicolas in a way no one had prepared for. And suddenly, the question every Spanish household was asking wasn't why is she there? It was, what just happened between them and why does it feel different this time? At first glance, it looked simple. A calm arrival, measured smiles, flags waving, royal guards aligned perfectly. But then came the details you only notice when the moment feels real. Leonor didn't scan the crowd the way she usually does. She didn't move alone. She didn't create distance. She adjusted her pace to match his. Prince Nicolas leaned slightly toward her, not for the cameras, but as if continuing a conversation that began long before Copenhagen. And in that instant, Spain collectively went quiet. Because this wasn't staged closeness. It wasn't ceremonial pairing. It was familiarity, and familiarity inside royalty is never accidental. What made this moment powerful wasn't what was said. It was what was not controlled. Leonor's expression wasn't rehearsed. Her body language wasn't guarded. For once, she looked less like Spain's future monarch and more like a young woman carrying something personal into a public space. And that is where the shock truly began. Because Spain knows Leonor. Spain has watched her grow up under pressure, responsibility, rules carved before birth. They know how carefully she protects herself. So when she didn't this time, it mattered. As they walked, Danish and Spanish media struggled to keep up, exchanging glances, whispering questions they couldn't voice on air. Was this diplomatic? Was it personal? Or was Spain witnessing the beginning of something royal history can't easily contain? The palace lines were careful. Cultural exchange, European unity, shared royal values, but the footage told a far more human story. At one point, Leonor paused before a ceremonial entrance, just briefly. Protocol demanded she move forward. She didn't. She waited. Not for an official, not for instruction. She waited for Nicolas. That pause lasted less than 2 seconds. But those 2 seconds ignited Spain. Because in royalty, timing is everything. And waiting speaks louder than devotion speeches ever could. Inside Spain, reactions spread instantly. Some felt pride, some felt concern, others felt something more complicated. Hope mixed with fear, because Leonor is not just a young woman. She is the future of the Spanish crown. Every expression she allows becomes political. Every connection becomes historical. And yet, here she was, choosing presence over image. The crowd in Copenhagen noticed it too. The applause wasn't loud at first. It grew, unevenly, organically. People weren't responding to crowns. They were responding to chemistry. Back in Madrid, analysts tried to slow the narrative. They pointed to tradition, to alliances, to history. But the youth of Spain wasn't listening to analysts. They were watching the footage again and again. The shared glances, the small smiles, the way Leonor's shoulders relaxed only when Nicolas stood beside her. This wasn't rebellion, it was release. And what shook Spain the most wasn't the possibility of romance. It was the visibility of choice. Because royalty rarely shows as choice. Later that evening, during the Copenhagen reception, another moment slipped through the palace filters. Leonor laughed. Not politely, not briefly. She laughed freely. And Nicolas responded not as a prince performing charm, but as someone who knew the sound already. That familiarity rippled straight across Spain. Commentators stopped speaking mid-sentence. Social feeds froze on still frames. And quietly, a new question emerged. What if Leonor is no longer willing to sacrifice everything for silence? What if the future queen is redefining strength? This is where the story deepens. Because this is not just about Copenhagen. It is about Spain in 2025, standing at a crossroads between tradition and truth. Princess Leonor was raised for discipline, prepared for solitude, trained to place duty before desire. And yet, history shows us that monarchies change not through statements, but through moments. Moments like this. Moments where the body speaks before the crown can stop it. Prince Nicolas did not overshadow her. He did not lead. He adapted. And that subtle balance is what left Spain speechless. Because power, when shared, becomes harder to predict. As the night progressed, the royal dinner unfolded with measured elegance. But behind the formal seating and polished speeches, something unspoken remained alive. Spain wasn't just watching a visit. They were watching a future being negotiated in real time. And the most dangerous thing for any monarchy is not scandal. It is sincerity. Because once people sense it, they never forget it. And as the Copenhagen lights reflected off palace glass, one truth settled deeply across Spain. This was not a moment that would pass. This was a moment that would return. Again, and again. Inside Spain, the silence didn't last long. Within hours, reaction rooms filled with speculation, not gossip, but concern wrapped in affection. Because what Spain had just seen wasn't scandalous. It was human, and that made it harder to control. Inside the Zarzuela palace, the mood was described as calm, but watchful. No urgent statements, no sudden denials, which in royal language often means something else entirely. Princess Leonor had not broken protocol. That was the complication. She had followed every rule on paper, yet somehow stepped beyond expectation. And that is far more unsettling than open defiance. Officials replayed the footage not for words, but for gestures. The pause at the entrance. The natural alignment. The shared awareness. Because these weren't accidents. They were choices made quietly, deliberately, and without spectacle. And the deeper truth Spain began to reckon with was this. Leonor is no longer a child under guidance. She is a woman carrying the crown before it rests on her head. What Copenhagen revealed was not rebellion against Spain. It was confidence in herself. Prince Nicolas's role, meanwhile, became even more intriguing. He never stepped ahead, never claimed the frame, never drew focus away from her position. Instead, he mirrored her pace, adjusted his posture, and maintained a presence that supported rather than competed. That detail alone shifted the conversation. Because Spain understands symbolism, and what they saw was partnership without performance. Across Spanish media panels, voices softened. This wasn't about rumors. It wasn't about predictions. It was about timing. Leonor is coming of age in a Spain that is changing faster than its institutions. A generation that values transparency. A public that responds to authenticity more than authority. And Copenhagen became the moment where those two paths met. Later that night, Danish insiders quietly confirmed what cameras hinted. This visit wasn't improvised. But the emotional tone was not scripted either. Which leaves Spain facing a reality it hasn't had to confront in decades. What happens when the future queen leads with presence instead of distance? History offers warnings, but it also offers hope. Because monarchies endure not by freezing, but by adapting. And Leonor didn't announce anything in Copenhagen. She didn't need to. She showed it. As Spain drifted into the early hours of morning, one sentiment echoed across all political leanings and ages. Whatever comes next, this moment cannot be undone. Copenhagen did not answer questions. It created them. And Princess Leonor, walking beside Prince Nicolas beneath foreign skies, made one thing unmistakably clear. The future of the Spanish crown will not be silent.